the first time I got pregnant, I walked out of the bathroom with the stick, and my husband was standing there ready to tell me he wanted a divorce. At the same moment, he didn't know that I was coming out with a stick. So my first baby was had after I'd been living at my mother's house for about 6 months in Madison, Wisconsin. And I was the third client at a new birth center there, and unfortunately the midwife who was running it turned out to be kind of an incompetent narcissist, and basically I ended up in the tub for 16 hours with back labor. Someone mentioned earlier that it's hard for the baby to come out when you have emotional issues, and to say that I had emotional issues surrounding this birth is a understatement. I had thought about having a home birth. I've got a good friend. I'm actually many of my friends have had home births. I always felt like I'm sorry, I'm going to go to the hospital. But in this case, I was at a birth center. I ended up transferring. Sorry, dude. And eventually gave birth in the hospital with an OB I had met like 1 second before. They gave me an epidural enough to stop a rhino, and forceps popped them out at the last minute. You know, I didn't sit down for 6 weeks. It really sucked. And yeah, so that was not very fun. 9 years later, things have turned around quite a lot in my life. I've gotten back together with HR, who's on the storytelling circuit. You might know him. He was my favorite college person. And lo and behold, I'm 43 years old, and well, let's see if I can, have another one. And it actually ended up happening surprisingly easily, maybe because he's younger than me, I don't know. And I ended up having a baby in Boston. I've studied the history of medicine. I'm a natural birth person. I, again, didn't want to have a home birth at this time, but I wanted to go where there was a tub, where I could have midwives, and do it in a different way. I also wanted to make sure that this time I wasn't with a bunch of incompetent narcissists. I wanted to be with people who I loved and trusted and wanted to be with me. So my friend Candace, who's sitting back there, was there. I got an awesome doula who was also a home birth midwife. Who, just in case, I was really hoping that I would have the baby in the car on the way to the hospital, but I didn't. However, I was still, going in, and there's one midwife I loved at the Harvard Vanguard practice. There's another one I didn't love so much, and unfortunately, on my 40-week appointment, I went in, and that was the midwife. She's like, okay, we'll go in and get an ultrasound because this is just what we do. And my age, none of this had ever come up at all the entire time, the whole time. They were just like, whatever, it's Boston. We don't consider, and so you're only advanced maternal age when you're 40, because everybody in this town's having babies when they're 38. There's they just do. The gray hair baby, it just, there's lots of them. It's normal. So I went in, and as we're going with HR to the ultrasound, I said, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go in, they're going to do the ultrasound, and they're going to say, something terrible, and if you don't do this right away, your baby's going to die. And I was like, this is what's going to happen. So you walk in, everything's fine. I go in, they measure the amniotic fluid, and they're like, oh no, you have low amniotic fluid, you must have this baby immediately, right now. And I'm like, oh Christ. So I was like, so I called the midwife. It was the midwife I didn't like, and she says to me, the midwife says to me, if you don't go to the hospital right now, your baby could die. And I was like, seriously, you fucking telling me this? This is not what you should tell a woman who's 40 weeks pregnant. So I go to the hospital, we stall, we stay there all night, we mess around, all kinds of things to kind of get things happening. And they basically leave us in the triage bed, all night long. And we're like, go away, well, we're fine. HR's reading a book about the Mars landing, whatever. And so during the night, bloody show, woohoo! You put something on a Kleenex, and I still put it in a little jar, and I kept it forever just to know that I was doing this. But in the morning, they were going to do a Pitocin thing, and off we went. In the morning, I was 3 centimeters dilated, ready to go. They did start the Pitocin. I did have I had the machine, but I had all my own stuff, and wonderful support by my friends, and I ended up having an awesome time. He was born, it was great, and it was a wonderful experience.